What's going on, everyone? Welcome on in to another episode of Golf on Tap. Today, we'll be breaking down Nick Dunlap making PGA Tour history, the fifth amateur to ever win on the PGA Tour, first since Phil Mickelson back in 1991 at the 2024 American Express. Also talking about Sam Burns blowing it down the stretch, Justin Thomas being back in contention, some interesting news on the Tiger Woods front, and also, of course, getting into this week's 2024 Farmers Insurance Open at iconic Torrey Pines. Speaking of Tiger Woods, a place where he fared very well throughout his PGA Tour career. As always, thank you to everyone out there for tuning in. Make sure to go and jump into the YouTube version of this so you can hop in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts on Nick Dunlap's win last week, who you're going to be tailing this week at Torrey Pines. Make sure to go and interact with us in the comment section. We'll make sure to talk and post your comments all throughout the episode. As always, I'm Jack Bushman. You can go and find me on X at Jack Bushman2. This is my partner, Ross Baran. Make sure to go and give him a follow as well at RossJohn22. And make sure to go and follow the Golf on Tap X page, which is actually at On Tap Golf, funny enough. But make sure to go and show us some love, show us some support. It really does go a long way. Ross, we got an awesome show on tap here today. A lot of good stuff to get into, brother. How you doing here this afternoon?
I'm still vibing off of yesterday and just how awesome that was.
I mean, I can't even put into words the stones and the courage that it took for Nick Dunlap playing in a final group with Sam Burns and Justin Thomas breathing down his neck all day long, and to go out there and look like a seasoned vet, look like he handled the pressure better than the two guys who have been doing it for years on the PGA Tour. It was absolutely sensational, man. Marvelous. And, you know, I said this to you before recording. The American Express isn't a tournament I particularly love. It's just an absolute birdie fest. John Rahm even put it himself as a two-time champion. The thing really just is a putting contest and you can get hot, but it produced an absolute firework finish. Not even just Nick Dunlap getting the job done. I mean, that's absolutely the cherry on top that we got to witness PGA Tour history, but an exciting finish down the last 5-6 holes. And we've now gotten that 3 tournaments in a row to kick off the new season and 3 massive long shots that are all really awesome stories. So it hasn't led to any money in my bank account, sadly, Ross, but 3 pretty awesome finishes so far to kick off the new year, and none better than Nick Dunlap getting the job done.
Like you said, the kid just has stones. There are so many well-seasoned tour players that in that moment, especially on 7 when he finally made his first real mistake of the tournament and lost the 2-shot lead. A lot of guys crumble on day 4 in that moment. He goes gets up and down, get out of there with a double. He goes and birdies the next hole, and we're right back.
Yeah, every time it seemed that he faced adversity, and this was probably the thing that impressed me the most. Didn't get off to the greatest start, but neither really did Sam Burns and Justin Thomas. But when the pressure got going and when he had to make some clutch putts and had to go make birdies and take advantage of the par 5s, he did that. And he made a lot of big-time knee knockers down the stretch. So hats off to Nick Dunlap, man. I mentioned him in my preview article breaking down the American Express last week as someone who's got the goods. And if you didn't know about him, you're going to find out real soon. I just didn't think it was going to be this soon, and I don't think anyone did. So real cool scene there. Obviously, there's some interesting decisions looming for Nick Dunlap. But before we get into that, Ross, I want to talk to you about Sam Burns down the stretch, because it really looked like it was his tournament. And I mentioned to you before we recorded was that I was more confident that Nick Dunlap was going to hang in there than I was that Sam Burns was going to blow it. Meaning, I didn't necessarily think Nick Dunlap was going to win, but I knew he had the game, and I knew he's been in high pressure situations, winning the United States Amateur and the United States Junior Amateur. He'd been in those situations before. Like, I didn't expect him to completely look lost, but I didn't expect Sam Burns to go and do what he did, not only down the stretch, Ross, but yeah, he made a couple of big time long range putts. But to me, he didn't play aggressive all day long and take advantage of any opportunities to really go and put it on Nick Dunlap early on. And it really fell apart for him on that par 5 where he just played it really cautiously and left himself like a 25-footer for birdie ends up making par. Dunlap responds with a birdie to go and answer it right back. And then that's what kind of allowed the momentum. One thing that I think will get lost, Ross, is Nick Dunlap. Yeah, he was in a pressure situation going to 17, the island green, Alcatraz, but he got to go first there. And when he hit the center of the green, albeit he carried the water by like 5 yards himself as well, when he hit the center of the green, that kind of put the pressure back onto Sam Burns really for the first time all day long. And what did he do? He goes and overcooks a fade wide right into the water. And then on 18, I'm not really going to punish him for hitting it into the drink either. He really had to go and get aggressive there, but just a brutal stretch from Sam Burns that I did not see coming for a guy that, you know, has gone out there against the best and come out on top against them.
I mean, you hit it on the head where you can look at this multiple ways. But the way I saw it is Sam Burns didn't do anything significant to go catch Nick Dunlap. Nick Dunlap made a few mistakes, which are going to happen when you're 20 years old playing in your third event on the tour, that allowed Sam Burns to get back in the picture. Once he got in the picture, he didn't do anything to pull away or really put pressure and, you know, slam the door on Nick Dunlap. He just kind of kept playing and allowed Dunlap to stay calm-headed and collected and stay with what he did for the first 3 rounds of the tournament. Where, like you said, the first time he actually got pressure is when they got to Alcatraz and Nick Dunlap had to go first, and Nick Dunlap put it in the center of the green where no matter what, he's getting out of there with a par, and that we're pushing this to 18.
Yeah, it was just a really weird final stretch there from Sam Burns, but I'm sure he's going to be back numerous times throughout the course of the season, but definitely didn't expect him to play that woefully down the stretch. And Ross, I know there were a lot of people that were backing Sam Burns with a bet this week that were not very happy with that tee shot that he hit on 17. So that was a little bit of a tough look. And it was funny because this has happened to me 2 weeks in a row now, Ross, where Sam Burns was someone that I was looking at betting this week. And all weekend long, all throughout the tournament, when I had no one in contention on Sunday and didn't have any slight chance at making money, I'm thinking to myself, why didn't I have money on Sam Burns? And the feeling that I had the week prior at the Sony was, why don't I have money on Ben Yan? Because he was like the last guy out, the first guy who didn't make my card. And then he goes and misses that 4-footer in the playoff last week to lose to Grayson Murray. And then Sam Burns did what he did on 17 and 18. And I'm like, well, you know, maybe I saved myself a little bit of a absolute brain explosion there. But just a wild start to this season, Ross. Do want to talk about Justin Thomas, though, here for a second as well, because JT also in that final pairing with Burns and with Nick Dunlap. He didn't have his best stuff on Sunday. And, you know, I'm sure a guy like Justin Thomas, even after the season he had last year, all that he's done in his career, I'm sure he's a little bit disappointed anytime he's in a situation like that and doesn't come through with the victory. But I think he still ultimately has to be encouraged with how the start of the season has gone, played well at the Hero, and has gotten off to a pretty decent start to his season here, right?
So I actually we're taking notes of this. Since missing his first FedEx Cup playoff of his career, JT has played 4 tournaments. With the pressure on him going, practicing, revamping himself after missing that, in those 4 events, 5th at Fortinet, 4th at Nedbank, 3rd at Hero, T3 at American Express. JT is back.
Yeah, and I was super, super high on JT coming into this year in terms of having a bounce back season. I didn't think he was going to go and struggle the way he did last year for the second straight campaign, but even even without a win, off to a real promising start right out of the gate, suggesting that, hey, he's coming back with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder and still wants to prove to everyone that he's that guy who's a 2-time major champion and hasn't gone away all that quickly. So really promising start for Justin Thomas. I know he was going to be a popular pick this week at the Farmers Insurance Open, given how he's played in his last handful of events, but actually ended up withdrawing from this tournament because he got the guarantee that he's already going to be playing in the Genesis Invitational and the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, which are the next 2 signature events on the schedule. So he's making sure that he's going to be all good in those departments, and then he'll be able to rest up this week and get ready for those big boy events. So no Justin Thomas this week, but yeah, off to a really good start. Also, Ross, before we move on too far, two other things to get to from the American Express. Christian Bezaden, who's the biggest winner of them all, even though he didn't come away with the win in the tournament.
Yeah, this would be one of the only times someone's ever going to say, "I'm really glad I came in second," because he gets a $1.5 million check, gets a little bit of additional FedEx Cup points. He did not get everything. They did alleviate what the winner's share of FedEx Cup points would be throughout the field. Just because obviously Nick Dunlap being an amateur, not allowed to participate in that, but literally might be the best second place finish of all time.
Yeah, Christian Bezaden is one happy man. What are your kind of thoughts on all of that, though? The amateur not being able to get the payout. I've heard, mixed kind of thoughts on it. What's kind of your stance on Nick not being able to take home that $1.5 million paycheck?
So I think Nick, he's gonna go home. I think he's gonna have a nice long thought about what the next step in the process is gonna be. Really, I could see it going either way, because the things that come out of this, he's guaranteed a tour card through 2026 now because of this win. One thing I could see happening is returning to Alabama, and essentially he's going to make some money through NIL if he just plays this season. He could finish the college season and do the Ludwig Oberg thing, and at the end of the college season turn pro. There's still signature events left in the season that at that time he's able to play in because he won this year. He's already in the Masters as being the US Am champion. He's already in the US Open as being the US Am champion. So he's going to have a shot at least two majors to get in there. I can make an argument where, if you want to play in school, you're going to get some money probably through NIL that's going to help build your bank account to turn pro. But I could also see, the allure of turning down $1.5 million right now and just jumping on the tour. But, I think that kind of factored into the decision where he withdrew from the tournament this week.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. Along with Justin Thomas withdrawing, Nick Dunlap also WD'd this morning as well. And you texted me right after that happened. Maybe that's a sign that he's at least going to seriously consider still remaining in college, even though it's, I'm sure, very tempting for him to go and accept that tour card right now and move forward as a professional. But I do really believe it's one of those situations where there isn't a wrong choice, right? And it's just ultimately going to come down to what Nick Dunlap ultimately prefers. He's still going to make money off NIL. He's uber talented 19-year-old. Even prior to this victory, he had a very promising career ahead of him. So I know it's unfortunate that he didn't get that 1.5 million, but he's going to be just fine. The NIL offering, if he does want to stay, is only going to get better for him. So it is going to be curious to see which way he ultimately ends up going and how long it takes before he gives us a decision one way or the other, because yeah, there are still signature events for him at the end of the year if he wanted to go the Ludwig Oberg route as well. But there are some coming up too. And hey, there are opportunities to go and make some big boy cash and play against the best. And he just duked it out against a couple of them down the stretch and proved to himself and the world that he can be the guy that comes out victorious. So it's going to be fascinating to see one way or the other which way Nick Dunlap ends up going with it. But yeah, just a really awesome story coming out of the American Express this week. Again, a tournament that I don't love, but boy, it was must-see TV on Sunday afternoon. Going head-to-head with football, too. Probably won't get the appreciation that it deserves, and that was kind of the same with Sony and the Century to kick off the new year, too. But yeah, just three real awesome storylines to get the new season underway with Ross.
Yeah. And, the most impressive thing is I really quickly am just going to read off the list of people that have won the U.S. Junior Amateur, the U.S. Amateur, and then gone on to win a PGA event. Tiger Woods, Nick Dunlap. That's the list.
Pretty good company, I would say so myself. And hey, you had some you wanted to talk about some new Tiger Woods updates that have gone down since the last time we spoke on the show a week ago. You want to go ahead and touch on that a little bit, Ross?
So it was leaked a couple days ago. It looks like with our next step in Tiger Woods' new era, new chapter, Um, I don't know if you remember the exact date, but Tiger Woods and Nike's deal expired on December 17th. And those internet sleuths that I don't know how they do it, but they search through the millions and millions of patents and trademarks and everything that is out there. Someone stumbled across that the following day, December 18th, TaylorMade LLC has filed a trademark for a Sunday Red collection, which has been synonymous with Tiger Woods for the last 27 years, as well as a potential patented logo featuring a tiger, not the classic TW we're used to, even though he does own that trademark and continues to own that trademark. It looks like our new chapter is going to potentially be with TaylorMade, which is something that I reported on about a month ago, that it seemed like a natural fit because they have their own equipment production line also.
And TaylorMade, it seems, jumped on it real quick once that deal with Tiger and Nike got chopped. But yeah, it does seem like it's a natural fit there. And I'm interested to see if there was going to be any sort of reveal before the Genesis when Tiger is expected to tee it up in a few weeks' time, or if he's just going to be walking out with the gear. And that's kind of the, hey, the new look is here, arrival that he's going to go with, which I don't think is going to shock any of us. But I'm also curious to see what's going to be happening with the TW logo that, you know, you see on the bottom of all the shoes. How is he going to be implementing that with the new company now? But you mentioned to me before recording too, that I think it's just a really good fit because TaylorMade, you're rocking the hat right now. We know about the clubs that they got, but the apparel is kind of been a little bit lackluster and leaving something to be desired for. So I feel like this is a nice little combination of two entities spearheading here for the future.
Yeah, honestly, I thought this entire time it's been the most natural fit because it has been his secondary partner for so long. Um, where it just seemed like, you know, change is good, but you don't want too much change. Where I know you and I were joking about, there was a video of him walking at like the country club or whatever, and he had like Travis Matthews stuff with him.
Yeah.
I immediately like called that out to you. It was like, yeah, but Callaway actually owns Travis Matthew, and I don't see him leaving TaylorMade to join Callaway as well as leaving Nike all at once.
Yeah, you were on top of it right from the get go.
So I think this was like gonna be the natural fit. I don't think it comes as a surprise to people. Obviously, it's not official; it hasn't been announced, but there's enough out there where it looks like this is where we're gonna go. And honestly, just it's the right fit. And let's be honest, if they release this entire new Tiger line, we're all gonna buy it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And it doesn't even need to be like a marketing campaign or anything. It's going to drop and people are going to go run into the stores or these days, you know, going and clicking on their phone and buying it from those carts. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm sure whatever Tiger ends up going with, just excited to see it coming soon. And speaking of Tiger Woods, Ross, we're going to be moving on to Torrey Pines here in just a second. Anything else you wanted to bring up before we go and do that?
Not really. I think I think those were the main things that we had this week. Other than, you know, we had the late news, Nick Dunlap pulling out of the tournament for this week, but I also don't have a problem with him pulling out of the tournament this week. You know, like he kind of explained how much of a whirlwind this whole thing was for him, where he showed up on Wednesday and he didn't even know how to friggin' register for the event. He needed someone to walk him through, like, where do I go check in and sign in?
I mean, and I completely understand that as well. Just thinking about all the stress and everything that was going on through his brain all throughout Sunday, and then also just the come down from that Sunday night and Monday morning, and then this week with this being a tournament that begins on Wednesday and ends on Saturday, it's an even faster kind of get up and go. So I completely understand Nick Dunlap going with that, and he's also got some things to think about.
I mean, there's that. There's thinking about, you know, do you turn pro? Do you return to school? And I'm sure it didn't help when he logged on to the internet this morning and saw that he also jumped 4,000 spots in the world ranking.
Yeah, I saw that as well. 4,000 spots. He's up to, I think, 66 or 68,
He
something like
he
that.
moved from he was going into Amex. He was 4,129th in the world. He woke up today to find out he is the 68th best player in the world. It is the largest single day jump in the history of the world golf rankings.
Wow, that is absolutely enormous. And it's so crazy. I remember watching him win the USAM. It was the USAM. Did he win them both last summer? Do you know?
He won the US Junior Am in 2021. He won the US Am in 2023.
Yeah, the US Am. I watched the highlights of him winning that last year to just kind of get familiar with him a little bit because I knew just hearing whispers around the golf world and the golf sphere that he was going to be a guy. So just came up on my YouTube feed one night and saw how good he was, and I was like, "Whoa, yeah, he's going to be a guy one day." But did not expect it to be happening in under 365 days from that point.
I did want to point out one thing that I don't know if you noticed, but I found it rather hilarious. Did you see how many posts the PGA made on him being the first amateur to win since 1991 without referencing Phil Mickelson in any single one of them?
Oh, went so far out of their way to make sure they did not include who that man that did that last in 1991 was. And I wonder why they did that, Ross. It's not like the PGA Tour is petty or
Just,
anything.
just rather amusing that you
Such
you you
assholes.
you you and I get the joke, but I found it rather amusing how far they went out of their way to say he's the first one to win since '91 without managing to mention who the last one in 1991 was.
Oh, and there was whether I doubt it was Jay Monahan or maybe it was, but someone high up there telling all the graphics people working on that being like, do not put Phil Mickelson on NBC Sports right now. I don't even want to see his name.
Well, especially because you bring up the Jay Monahan earlier when I was eating dinner because the new season should come out soon for Netflix Full Swing. I watched I ended up rewatching the first season, and I got to the Jay Monahan episode talking about Live, and it is just so freaking funny to watch how he acts now compared to a year later. You're shaking hands with these guys cutting a deal behind their back.
I actually haven't thought about going back to watch it. I probably like you as well watched it right off the cuff when they released it. And what's kind of funny is I'm going to be departing to Mexico here in 6 days time, and I actually watched all of Full Swing while I was traveling going to Mexico. Easy watch on the airplane to and from last year. So kind of crazy that that's a year removed now and gearing up ready for season two. But yeah, I'm sure there's probably a handful of clips that you can go and pull from that of Jay Monahan saying some very ironic quotes that would blow up in his face at this time now.
It literally made me giggle watching just how far we've come and just hearing how he talks. It was a little amusement for today out of nowhere.
All right, moving on here though, real quick, Ross, is we do got to talk about the Farmers Insurance Open before we wrap this things up. Torrey Pines, baby. One of my favorite golf courses on the rotation is an absolute beast. And the first 3 weeks, they've all been great, but they've all been scoring frenzies. They've all been birdie fest. We haven't seen these players get challenged all that much. And Ross, I know you're new doing the show with me, but those are the events that I really love is watching these guys grind it out, face grueling and demanding tracks from tee to green and go and, win a tournament at -12, -13. I don't really like seeing courses where everyone can go out there and make birdies. And I think the cream really rises in events like this. And you got to be at your best to go and get it done at Torrey Pines. And Tiger Woods, a guy that we just spoke about, sure did that in his career, winning 8 times at Torrey Pines. Most iconically, of course, 2008 on a broken leg, making birdie on the 72nd hole to tie Rocco, goes and beats him in the Monday playoff. Talk to me about your thoughts on Torrey Pines and all the memories that come to mind when you think about it.
This is easily just one of the most iconic courses there is on tour. You can't even specifically go through all of the moments because it is such a special course. And yeah, I'm not the betting expert on the show. That is all your realm. But interesting thing I did read up on today. Did you see that the first 3 winners on tour this year essentially have combined for the highest odds in history to open up a season?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think Kirk was 150 to 1. Grayson Murray was like 300 to 1, and Dunlap was like 500 to 1. No one who's betting golf is making money right now.
The average had Kirk at 200 to 1. They had Murray at 400 to 1, and then they had Dunlap at 500 to 1. That is the high between the, if you combine them, that is the highest odds average for the first three to begin a PGA Tour in basically in the history of betting since they started tracking it.
That's insanity. But I'll tell you what, I think that probably ends this week, the way that Torrey Pines sets up. And I just get the sense that one of the big dogs are going to win. What are you feeling?
Torrey Pines is one of those courses that will chew you up and spit you out if you do not know what you're doing. Where I think this is where, fingers crossed, we're gonna see one of the normal names take this one. I think you're gonna get the vet that's played it a dozen, half a dozen times, whatever, that has experience, and it doesn't even have to be PGA level. It could be, with amateurs, everything. Someone that has played this course consistently in their career. I think that's going to be the person that comes and gets it. I don't think you're going to see the newcomer. Honestly, I'm not expecting a lot of these. The leaderboard the past 3 weeks, super impressive to see all these guys hang around, especially a lot of the newcomers. I think this is going to be the first real PGA test where you're going to see a bunch of those guys that are fresh new faces on tour aren't going to be there on Saturday or be there on Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, a little bit wonky one. Just a reminder to everyone out there, yes, this tournament does start on Wednesday, ends on Saturday. Third year that they're doing that in a row, which is actually smart on behalf of the PGA Tour. So that way they don't go head to head with the NFL's conference championships on Sunday. But yeah, a very quick turnaround. But I completely agree with you, Ross, because truly what Torrey Pines is, it's a major championship level test. And I'm going to get into a little bit of a breakdown of this course here. 3 of the 4 rounds going to be held at the Torrey Pines South course, which is the course that everyone thinks of, iconic, Tiger Woods, yada, yada, yada. That's the one we're talking about here. 3 of the 4 rounds going to be played there this weekend. All the players in the field, all 156 of them, are going to alternate between the South course and the North course on Wednesday and Thursday. And then the final 36 holes will be held strictly at the South course. And there is a big difference between the two, because I just said the South course is a major championship level test. The North course is really nothing similar. It's 500 yards shorter, only 7,250 yards, way less grueling from tee to green, a lot more scoring opportunities. And we've seen several players, I think it's 6 total, Ross, in the last 5 years, shoot either 62 or 63 on the North course, which is 10 under. And you won't see that at the South course unless something seriously drastic happens. So the North course is really where you get a lot of scoring opportunities. And it's pretty pivotal to take advantage of those as well, just because how difficult it is the rest of the 3 rounds at the South course. And one tidbit that I actually noticed over the last 5 winners as well, Ross, each of them have shot at least 68 or better in their 1 round at the North course. So really important to take advantage of the 1 round you get here. But getting to the South course, man, it is one of my favorites out there. And a lot of people talk about how this is kind of the start of the PGA Tour season, because I referenced the first 3 are just kind of birdie fest, scoring frenzies. This is where it really gets going. And we also get a really good stretch of golf after this with Pebble Beach, Waste Management, the Genesis. Like, it really starts to feel real right now. And that's why I think Torrey Pines is like a perfect course for this. 7,700 yards, an absolute dogfight out there. The longest course featured on the PGA Tour. 10 par 5, 7 of them are longer than 450 yards. There's only 1 par 5 that's actually shorter, 1 par 4, that's shorter than 425. The par 3s, 3 of the 4 of them are over 200 yards, and the par 5s, 2 of the 4 are up over 600 yards, all 3 longer than 560. So it's just long all over the place. And I think it's going to be really key in terms of guys who are going to contend, and maybe some stats that people should be looking for or researching in terms of if they want to go and place a wager this week. So much approach shots are going to be coming from outside of 175 to 200 yards, because all of these holes are just so long. And one thing to note about the South course as well, super tight fairways and super thick 4-inch Kikuyu grass rough. And Ross, Southern California has just been getting pummeled with rain here to start the week. And I believe that's only going to make the rough even more difficult. So bombers and guys who can hit it long and accurate, I really think are going to have an advantage. Hence why I believe one of the better players in the world is going to get it done, because that's usually what it is at a US Open type venue. We've seen US Opens be hosted here numerous times. So I'm looking at 200-yard proximity, distance, hitting the fairways. And you also need to be able to get out of trouble, because you're just not going to go scratch free around this place for 72 holes. You're going to have to get up and down from some tough areas, might have to play out of the bunkers. And it's really, really important to take advantage of the par fives, because there just aren't many scoring opportunities anywhere else. If you can get birdies on those par fives, you're going to put yourself in a good position moving forward, and pars are going to be okay on the par fours. But all in all, it's just a really awesome test. And I think, of course, that's fitting of seeing, a really good field that we're getting here this week. 17 of the top 40 golfers in the official world golf ranking. It's a place that I love, man. And I'm really excited to see everything underway, Ross.
Yeah, I mean, you already said it. With all of the par fives, that's where you're going to have to manage the risk versus the reward, because the fact is there are eagles out there. There are eagle opportunities, but it's the risk versus the reward, because if you do not end up in that fairway, you end up off. You are praying to God you come home with a 5.
And yeah, you can make big numbers on these par fives. It's one of those courses where it can be a true swing. Yeah, you have an opportunity to go out there, and if you play it well, you can make a 3 or a 4. But if you don't play it well, not only are you going to miss out on the opportunity, but you could be looking at a 6 or a 7 on your scorecard. And we know how much PGA Tour players hate those 6s and 7s.
Yeah, I mean, look at Sam Burns. Look at Sam Burns yesterday.
Poor Sam Burns, man. Not only he's fine financially, but I was watching with one of my buddies down the stretch, and I go, Sam Burns just cost himself a lot of change with this 18 holes, man. And Christian Bezenu was very happy about it.
Yep. No, this week is definitely going to be the risk versus the reward. Calculating your risks, making sure you make the shots. This is one of those courses where, even though it's long, I'm not gonna be surprised where you see a lot of the layups on that second shot, or even Tommy Fleetwood's favorite baby driver.
Oh my God!
To take the baby driver off the tee, make sure you're in the fairway and set up that nice second shot, so you can try to fire it in, maybe roll it up. But I think you're gonna see a lot of conservative play, and it's gonna come down to the weekend, the fake weekend, where people start to take the risk and bust out the big sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got a couple of other real intriguing tidbits when just kind of looking at past winners and just some things in recent editions of this tournament. Over the last 5 winners, all of them have played at either the Sony, Century, or the American Express to begin the season, which I think just suggests how important it is to have rounds under your belt to be capable to go and contend for a title on the PGA Tour. And also, most of them, 13 of the last 15 winners previously, have a top 10 at Torrey Pines. So I think it's just really important to just have that experience and the knowledge of how to get around here, and just understanding of what this place demands exactly. And we're getting a lot of high profile first timers in this event, in Ludwig Aubert, obviously. And Min Woo Lee is someone else who's up on the betting boards this week that hasn't played here in the past. So I do think some course history is mostly required. John Rahm was one of the 2 guys that kind of broke that trend. So talent can kind of trump everything, but I just thought that was a little bit of a fun nugget. And also, out of those last 5 winners as well, all of them had either at least one top 10 at Murfield Village, at Riviera, or at Torrey Pines in the previous year, just suggesting that they also have that experience in other just demanding types of tournaments, tracks that require you to strategically think about how you get around and having to get out of trouble from time to time. Just the big boy events on the PGA Tour, rather. It looks like you just need some sort of experience or some high-end finish in those events. So just some notable things that I've noticed this week. And again, just more reasons to kind of make me believe that one of the top ranked players in the field is going to get a victory for the first time this year.
I mean, it also makes sense why maybe Nick Dunlap would pull out of this event. Is, I'm riding high. I might get some college sponsorship and money here. It would be a shame if I went 3 days later and missed the cut at Farmers because because the course is tough.
Yeah, it just sounds like a whole another batch of stress that would have been on Nick Dunlap's plate. So I don't blame him for passing that one up.
I definitely think this is going to be one of those weeks where we are going to watch the course eat up the players, and it's going to be that handful of veteran guys that have played this course consistently enough. Someone is going to take advantage of that. I'm not really. I mean, golf is always a surprising game. It gives and takes all at once, but I don't think we're really going to get a surprise like a Dunlap or a Murray or a Kirk this week. I think we're going to get a seasoned, well-known name is going to be the guy that steps up here and takes it because he's played it before.
Yep, and I'm going to get into some of the names here that I'm liking. I know it's still Monday. Got some things that I need to finalize before finishing off the betting card and all that good stuff. But Ross, what I figure we'd kind of do is I could talk about some of the guys that I like and also some of the guys at the top of the board. I know you're not the betting expert and can't place wagers where you're living, but just kind of some thoughts on maybe certain guys heading into this week before we kind of wrap things up all in all. Is that cool?
Yep.
For sure. So the top of the betting board that we have here, Ross, top 4 players, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa, who finished T3 here last year, California guy, won a major championship in the state of California, and Max Homa, defending champion, who seems to have done all of his best work in his PGA Tour career in California as well. Out of those 4, who would you be the highest on going into this week? For me, it's Max Homa 1, Colin Morikawa 2. What are your thoughts?
Right now, the only switch I have Max number 1. I think this is Max's event, especially the past couple of years. He's been really good about getting a hot start. He takes that PGA break like a lot of other guys do. This is the event he's had circled. He knew he was going to play. He's already had success there. I had Max number 1 at coming back and just winning again. The only switch I had Morikawa is 3 on my board. I actually have Schauffele at 2. I think this is an event where he had a decent week this past week. I think this is one of the courses that just with the experience, everything, he can have the upper hand. But my order in that Cantlay, the California golf, everything also fits into him because it's where he's based. I like Cantlay at 4 there overall. I don't know if Cantlay's putting is on as it was at the Ryder Cup at the moment. It looks like this past week when you watch the event, he seemed a little off. I don't know if he has enough in the bag right now where he has the shots to get there. I don't know if the putter is dialed in enough at this time after what I saw last week to come and get this event. So I would go Homa, Schauffele, and then Morikawa is my 3 there.
Yeah, I understand that. And Schauffele, certainly intriguing as well. San Diego kid, hasn't played this event tremendously well so far in his career, but has been better in most recent editions. An incredible Sunday. So he's going to be popular this week. I understand those reasons as well. Max Homa, the one thing I will say before moving on, hasn't putted well in his last 3 or 4 events dating back to 2023 as well. But California is just different, man. And at Torrey Pines South, you get those POA greens. And it's just one of those feel surfaces where guys who have played on it a lot tend to have success. And we know Max can putt well in California. So I don't really have as many worries about him. That's why I have him at number 1, but a very intriguing top of the board. I'm not going to be betting all of these guys, Ross. And again, it's still early on in the week. I'm going to finalize things up here before Wednesday morning. And also to everyone out there, to everyone tuning in, make sure to go and comment down below as to players you like heading into this week. I love interacting with everyone out there and seeing who they're going to be tailing. So make sure to go and do that. Some other names here, though, that I have written down, Ross. Maybe give me one that you like more so than the others. I have Ludwig Aubert. I know he's never played it before, but long and straight. It just feels like he has the game for major championships one day down the road. Jason Day has won here twice before and seems to always play well here in California and at Torrey Pines. Sahith Theegala, another guy with California ties that just won in California at the Fortinet earlier in the fall. And then Harris English, someone who quietly has been playing okay golf to kick off the new year, but has some pretty good results at events that I mentioned, like a Murfield Village and the Genesis, to suggest that he's capable of winning an event like this. Any thoughts on any of those guys that I just listed off?
Oberg is, I think this is going to be one of his biggest seasons, especially because he joined so late. I mean, he made the Ryder Cup team before he even played in a major. So I think this could be one. Obviously, it's a test because he hasn't played there yet on tour. Not going to be surprised with his game, though. This course does line up well. I also liked your Theegala pick, or at least throwing out that name. The only thing Theegala struggles with historically is getting off the tee and driving consistently. Everything else in his game is spot on. He's one of the best players on tour in terms of short game, everything else. So what we kind of talked about a couple weeks ago, where he has self-criticized himself forever that I'm not good off the tee. I need to improve that. And then a couple weeks ago, he was gaining 1.8 shots off the tee, kind of figured out the drive. If he can figure out the drive and go long off the tee and get down there, the rest of his game fits very well to this course to put it together. So I do actually like that pick. I know he's a little bit longer of a shot, but he is coming around. And as long as he can hit the drives, I'm not going to be surprised to see him up there on the board.
Yeah, and because he is a little bit wayward from time to time, his scrambling is unbelievable. He can get up and down from anywhere, and that's actually what carried him last year here, where he finished T4 or T6, I want to believe. It was a high-end finish, I know, for Sahith, and that's what I wanted to see out of him, is having reps on a course like this and a high-end finish as well. So that's why I found him intriguing. Ross, I got to ask you about this guy, because we've talked about him a decent amount so far here in the season. It's Keegan Bradley. He finished runner-up here to Max Homa last season, playing really well to kick off the new year and playing with a chip on his shoulder from not making that United States Ryder Cup team. It's a really good opportunity for him here. What do you like his chances at all this week?
I love Keegan in general, and he did take a break. He did take a break following Sony. I think it's probably a good mental health break. Clear. Get back out there and start playing again. I will not be surprised to see Keegan go out and kick some ass over these next 4 days for this tournament. I really do believe that Keegan is going to lock down a tournament very quickly to start this season, because he is a man on a mission.
Yeah, and I think he's just playing such good golf right now. There's a really good opportunity to pounce. And this is a setup that should fit him well. Someone who can drive the ball long and accurate. That driver's always been a really good weapon for him. And the putter, that's really been the biggest change in his career, Ross, is the putter is just completely flipped. He used to be, after, the belly anchor got banned, he really struggled there for a couple of years, just finding his ways on the greens, but something's flipped for him. It's actually the Aim Point Express. I know what it is. It's not something, but that's just worked really well for him. And he's turned into a positive putter and someone who can actually use that putter to his advantage. Unfortunately, that wasn't the way that it went Sunday at Sony, but still a very promising finish. And you like to see Keegan in contention in terms of his chances this week. So we'll see if I end up on Keegan, but I know he is going to be a popular pick for obvious reasons as well. Some other guys that I just wanted to shout out that I do think are intriguing. I'm not going to get too far down the betting board probably in this event, because I just think we're going to see one of the better players and non-surprises actually win for the first time this season. But some guys I thought were interesting. Keith Mitchell, someone who can absolutely bomb it and had a really good final round at the AmEx last week. Luke List, who has been performing really well, surprisingly, with the putter over his last 6 starts. He's only been a negative to the field once, and similar to Keegan Bradley, that's really what's hindered him, but a past champion that won here in 2022. Scott Stevens is someone who's been playing well recently too, and how about this pick, Ross? I don't know if I'm actually going to bet it, but Taiga Semikawa, baby. He's named after Tiger, Torrey Pines, Tiger Woods. He's like 400 to 1. I feel like I might have to throw like a fiver on him or something.
I mean, it doesn't hurt. The best name in there that I heard, though, Keith Mitchell, just steady, slow, steady, bombs it off the tee, has great approach and control. And let's be honest, that dude is just setting the mark when it comes to tour fashion weekly. He walks out there on the tee, and he's easily one of the best dressed on the course. One of the only names that you threw out that I do not like, and it's going to be the homer in me, and just Jason Day. Too much clothing, too much material. That shit's going to get caught up in the wind and the rain. He's not going to be there.
Hey, you're not a fan of Jason Day's new style that he's going with? You're more on Team Keith than Team Day?
Yeah, there's just so much extra claw. I feel like if he catches a burst of wind when he's standing on the tee box, it's gonna catch him like a sail, and he's gonna just fly away.
Yeah, interested to see if Jason Day is going to be wearing anything outlandish here this week. But yeah, Ross, I think that's basically all I got here, man. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we kind of wrap things up?
Not really. Weird week for golf, just with the schedule shift. So we're gonna tee off on Wednesday. So of course I don't work remote on Wednesday, so I'm gonna have to sneak it in my office a little bit of the ESPN Plus coverage and everything. But it's an exciting week. You know, we're at Torrey Pines, and we're starting to get deeper into the season. We're starting to get the name brand courses. Everything's gonna come around, and I think the funniest thing I watched the other day when I was sitting here with my girlfriend was they kept posting the current FedEx Cup standings. And I was just giggling at the names when you look through, and it's just like, there's not a freaking chance that's what it looks like in 4 weeks.
Dude, yeah, I just typical PGA Tour broadcast. And this, I feel like it's my responsibility as a host of a golf podcast that I have to do this week in and week out. Before I do that though, did you see the videos that the PGA Tour was posting of Nick Dunlap's mom and that just weird dude standing right behind her the whole time? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Oh my God, that guy gave me some weird vibes. I don't know what he was doing there, but very odd placement that he should have thought of a little bit better. But Ross, go ahead.
The two things that made me laugh from that coverage were when he sank the putt on 17 to go to 18, and we walked right by his mom, and his mom looked at the camera and goes, "He doesn't get these nerves from me. This is his dad." and then after his tee shot on 18, when he was walking down with Justin Thomas, and Justin Thomas goes, "You got one, huh?" And he looks at him. He goes, "Oh, did I smoke somebody?" And Justin Thomas just says, "Percentages say yeah."
I mean, look at the lie he drew there on 18. He definitely hit somebody, but hey, needed that little break. Sometimes it's all the bumps that you get. But Ross, I did want to bring up, again, it's a crime week in and week out. You want to know what it would have been really cool if we got to watch Nick Dunlap try to make history and got to see the first 8 holes? Nick Dunlap, Sam Burns, Justin Thomas teed off at 1:05 Central Time. Coverage didn't start until 3:00, and when I say 3:00, probably 3:05, 3:10, because they have to do their lollygagging intros for some reason. We're talking about something that had only happened 4 times in the history of the PGA Tour, and not since 1991, but we don't know who did that last. And they didn't show coverage of it for 2 hours, and the only way you got to watch it, some parts of it, is if you signed up for Peacock or ESPN Plus, and you get little blips here and there, and random people who are 15 guys off the lead are making long shot putts. It's an absolute travesty, man. And I feel like it's my responsibility as a golf host to talk about it week in and week out.
Well, it is also my responsibility as a golf host that I am the asshole that pays for ESPN Plus and Peacock, so I can watch the entire round.
I do too, but it's still bullshit.
But yeah, yes, it is. Really simple. Jay Monahan's got to go. I mean, shake Yasser's hand, cut the deal, and then also cut yourself a check. Honestly, if you get the PIF money, it's a blank check. If you write a number on there and piss off out. Let someone else take over from there.
Yeah, I'm on boat with that 100%. And you brought this up earlier. I'm really curious to see how / if he's going to be implemented into this season 2 of the Netflix stuff. Like how is he going to be personified in that is going to be really interesting as well.
I'm waiting for the episode where they basically announce, "Oh, he's dying on his deathbed. He's taking a leave of absence." I'm waiting for that episode to come out because I guarantee you're going to get some of the funniest player reactions where every one of them with the cameras rolling. It's going to be all horse shit.
And boy, do I hope they included all of those reactions. Do you know if we have an official date for that yet by chance?
I've been checking almost every day for an announcement. I'm guessing we're going to get late February, early March. If you actually want a realistic timeline, I'm not going to be surprised if they drop the week leading up to the Masters.
Yeah, that would make sense too. Just knowing them, be like, we'll pump it out before the biggest tournament. Everyone will watch it then. Why would we benefit our fans and release it when they want it, when we could release it when we wanted it and it'll help us more?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how it goes on the PGA Tour. All right, Ross, I think that's going to wrap up everything that we had to talk about this week. To everyone out there who tuned in, thank you very much. We appreciate all of your support. If you're still in here and haven't done so already, make sure to go and hit that like button for us. Comment as to who your picks are, how you're feeling after Nick Dunlap's victory. It was a pretty awesome week of golf, and we should have another pretty awesome week ahead of us as well. So on behalf of yours truly, make sure to go and follow me on X at Jack Bushman 2. Make sure to go and follow Ross as well at RossJohn22 and show love to our pages account at Golf on Tap on X as well. And if you're going to be gambling and you don't already have an account with BetRivers, make sure to use the promo code ONTAP because you'll get up to a $250 match on your first deposit. To everyone out there, thank you for tuning in again. Good luck this week. Crack 'em, lock 'em, and we'll see you next time on Golf on Tap.